Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one is going to be for volume 35 of the manga, which is called The New 2. Really interesting cover this time out. It is just another one with Naruto on it, but because the background is so detailed, the bookshelf, and it's just an interesting image, it's so colorful. I think it stands out, compared to sometimes it's just characters on like a blank background. So, interesting one, but, I think, Shikamaru's team would have been a little bit more fitting here. Hidan Kakuzu would have been more fitting, but, there's obviously next volume to potentially have that cover. But yeah, we cover another 10 chapters here. We cover chapter 310 to 319. The title, nicknames, The Impending Menace, The New 2, The Akatsuki Strikes, Special Drills, Let the Training Begin, Nightmares, Smooth Training, and Driving Force. So overall, I'd say this is a really good volume. We start our big Naruto training arc here as he goes to learn a really powerful, completely brand new jutsu with the help of Kakashi. And that's just, I think, a really well done training arc. How they explain new aspects of ninja techniques to us through Naruto needing to understand them. And just, you have Naruto and Yamato both focusing on Naruto, teaching him, and it just works really well. Earlier on in the volume, you have Sai kind of obviously now in a better position here, better trying to understand people, wanting to be on Team 7, part of the team, and bond with people and understand that sort of stuff. So you have him researching that, trying to interact with a lot of the other kind of members of obviously this initial group of similarly aged characters who now he is a part of. So you have him interacting again with Shikamaru's team, and just works really nicely. But obviously the key story focused stuff here is that we keep cutting back for just a little bit to the Akatsuki rounding up more and more of the tailed beasts. So we very quickly see the three tails being captured. That is not anything to do with the Jinchuriki. The three tails is just out there, which is interesting in and of itself, that it's just the beast is out there and they capture it. And then they take out the two tails Jinchuriki again quite quickly. So just this idea that, okay, so the story isn't going to focus completely on the Akatsuki just going after each one, and we're going to try and defend each Jinchuriki as it happens. No, we've got one or two Jinchurikis that we really care about, who we're going to defend hard, but the Akatsuki are going to, in general, get most of them. So it's just interesting to see that it's not meant to be the focus how they go about capturing each of them. It's just the overall war against the Akatsuki, basically, more or less. But the counter to that is obviously Asuma becoming much more of a part of the story, and then towards the end here, Shikamaru is going to get involved in the story as well, and we're setting up to obviously Shikamaru's team, Choji being more involved as well. So let's get into some specifics here. We'll obviously start off with the end of last volume. Sasuke has left, their mission is a failure, Naruto thinks he's still too weak to do anything. A really, really emotional moment here as kind of Sakura tells Naruto crying won't make Sasuke come back. She's trying to remain strong, but she herself is also crying. But it's actually Sai who helps bring the team kind of up by saying, we still have half a year left. 3 makes for better odds than 2, and I'm pretty strong too. So he's the one to kind of bring the team back, and it's just a nice moment to show that he's on board now. And the first couple of chapters here are very focused on Sai, which I definitely appreciate, that it's not just a case of he's now relatively on board with the team, let's put him in the background for a while, he's just a member of the cast now. I like that they give him focus even after the arc, establishing that he goes to see Danzo to get permission to stay under the name Sai as part of the team. And everyone basically agrees, though I think Danzo is beginning to have doubts that Sai is no longer the efficient Foundation member he thought he was previously. And then just some nice moments, like they devote a lot of time in one of the early chapters to just showing that Sai at home is now getting back to painting and naming his paintings and really being invested in that. And obviously one of the first ones he names is this portrait of himself kind of joining Team 7 by the kind of tree just outside his window, and it's just a really, really nicely done one. That he's done all these paintings, but none of them are named. But the first one to be named is this one that means so much to him, being part of this team. It's just, I think, really, really nicely done. But yeah, after that we basically just get some moments of like Sai goes to the library, reads some books about like how to interact with people, and then Sakura is obviously trying to help him with that, and we get the whole nickname thing as he kind of calls Sakura homely, which obviously in the anime, the dub of the anime, he calls her ugly as her nickname, which, you know, maybe was a little harsh, and homely is a little bit better in that it's not necessarily a negative thing. He just is like, when I think of you, the first thing that comes to mind is homely, and she takes offense to that because she doesn't want to be seen that way. But just had a little bit weird word choice on that pretty big moment of just Sai nicknaming people the wrong thing. But obviously, what was Sakura expecting, given that she was giving Sai examples of nicknames by them being negative, by calling like Naruto a fool and so on. But yeah, they go to visit Kakashi, who's more or less recovered in hospital. It's not really much of a like key interaction here that we see like Sai interact with Kakashi. It's just a brief, you know, hello. He knows what's gone on. Yamato's told him about what happened, and we just quickly transition away from the Sai stuff into, you know, you need to become stronger too, just like Sasuke. And then they kind of briefly talk about the fact that Sasuke's progress must be like enhanced by like forbidden jutsu and stuff like that. That's why he is so powerful right now. Even though 3 years have passed, he is still crazy powerful compared to what they would expect in that amount of time to accomplish. But yeah, we also get Sai. I thought the last real focus on Sai here is just him interacting with Ino, kind of setting that relationship up. Again, ultimately, the relationship stuff is never a focus in the series for the most part, but they do set up Ino and Sai here. Some of the novels touch on it a little bit more, but here it's just this idea that Ino straight away finds Sai attractive. Sakura instantly warns her that like, okay, he may be quite attractive to you, but he doesn't get people's emotions, so that may be a problem. And you just see her trying to impress him a little bit, and he tries to give them all nicknames and nearly makes the mistake of calling Choji Chubby. But when he comes around to Ino, he says like, well, I have to do the opposite of what I said to Sakura, so I guess like a compliment, even if I don't necessarily like agree with it, and just calls her beautiful. And it's a big moment because obviously Sakura was just basically called the opposite of this, and now Ino, her rival, is being called beautiful by Sai, and she just is like, how dare you call her the opposite. It's just fun interactions, and just this idea that we've now moved past the whole idea of Sai being an evil character, and just having him have these fun interactions with all of the cast that we already know of to now. It's just so interesting because we hated this guy when he was first introduced. The way he was presented was so unlikable, and now he's just this really awkward character that you actually do care about because of what they've done with him recently. So, he's a character who doesn't tend to get discussed a lot because he's not really massively involved in the later stages of the series. But this introduction of him and as becoming part of the main cast, I think is really well done, really well written. But yeah, we are at this point introduced to our two new Akatsuki members, Kakuzu and Hidan, who are obviously paired up. And these two are quite interesting in that with the first pairing that we got, Deidara and Sasori, their whole dynamic was basically about what they see as true art. So you have Deidara focusing on the idea that art is an explosion. Art should only last for a split second, but that one split second is the most beautiful thing ever. Whereas Sasori was always like, no, art should be permanent. It should persist forever, and how that related to his idea on puppets and stuff like that, and that his dream was always to become a puppet so that he could live forever by just making a new puppet, and that life just remains once you have this kind of puppets that are these more permanent things to build. These two, it's more of a case of kind of spirituality focused on like the ancient ways with Hidan versus Kakuzu's focus on kind of money, more modern stuff, and just kind of practicality versus spirituality. And it makes for an interesting kind of that these dynamics are. There's always a bit of tension between the two characters, but they're obviously still ultimately for the same goals. And just again, it leads to these characters feeling evil, but that they have personality to them as well. In that Kakuzu just hates how ritualistic Hidan is, but Hidan hates the fact that Kakuzu doesn't seem to have any sense of like what was the word I want to say here? He doesn't really have any sense of focusing on ancient stuff or rituals. He doesn't have any respect for that sort of stuff. That's part of the word I was looking for, respect. And it's just interesting, just like how Deidara and Sasori clashed, we have a similar dynamic, but it's different, obviously, here. And we first see them take down the Two Tails Jinchuriki, and it's really interesting the way it's done. It's a really well kind of done little fight scene as they kind of chase her down. She's obviously a cloud ninja, and she reveals that she actually has a pretty decent control over her tail beast, and we get to see what it looks like there. Awesome double page spread. Just one of the best, I think, pieces of art we've seen from Kishimoto to now. It looks really great. Given that we've seen a couple of the tail beasts at this point, we've obviously seen Shukaku, we've seen Kurama, so now we get to see this one. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, just really, really interesting stuff. That's this Jinchuriki's name. Her name is Yugito. I almost forgot it there for a second from the Cloud Village. They very quickly basically take her out, and I really like the way they show how it happens, and they cut to the fight in progress, and that she's dealt some damage to them. She has them on the ropes. They cut away from the fight, and then they cut back, and the fight's over, and it looks like Hidan has just been killed. Like he's just on the ground, bar through his chest. Blood all over the place. Doesn't look like he's moving. Then he suddenly gets up, and it's revealed that no, she's actually the one who's basically dead, and they've captured her. But they do talk about that they need to keep her alive and stuff like that. And the tease obviously here is that we see his arm go from being black to kind of going back to normal style. So clearly he has some sort of ritualistic kind of aspect to him where he does something. And we get these little hints that he's kind of part of this like cult of Jashin, which is all about killing, and there's rules that if you start a fight with someone and you plan to kill them, you can't actually leave the fight until you have accomplished that goal. That there are strict rules if you don't kill someone. So that's interesting. But yeah, we see Zetsu arrive. He basically takes her away to be have the tail beast extracted, and they move on to the Land of Fire, which is a great setup that just in the middle of the volume you have these characters basically established. We're moving from here to here. We're obviously looking for another Jinchuriki, so interesting stuff. And along the way, once they get to the Land of Fire, they basically go to a temple where one of the Guardian Shinobi 12 is at, and they basically take him out. And then they later establish that Asuma has a connection to this by being a part of the Guardian Shinobi 12 and his close relationship with this character. And that's kind of the personal interest that Asuma is going to have in the fight as we go on. So that's that. But it's around this time that we start to get the training put into place for Naruto. What exactly we're going to be dealing with here. So Naruto and Kakashi are going to be trained together, and I really like the moment at the start of this scene where Naruto is just so happy to finally be training one-on-one with Kakashi, because basically it's never happened. They've had like group training sessions, they've obviously been on missions together, but when it came to being trained one-on-one, it was Jiraiya who's obviously trained Naruto for the most part. And then obviously group sessions, but it was always Sasuke who Kakashi focused on one-on-one. So he's so happy to just have kind of this one-on-one thing with Kakashi, even though Kakashi doesn't really read too much into it. But yeah, we established that what Naruto's going to learn here is that his technique is going to involve a change in chakra form and a change in chakra nature. And he gives the example that his own Chidori is an example of that. The chakra nature is lightning. Chidori is a lightning style jutsu. And then the change in chakra form is that he uses lightning in the form of kind of like a bolt of lightning surrounding his hand. And he kind of gives another example that the Rasengan is an example of a change in chakra form, but not nature. That the idea of having your chakra and turning it into a spinning ball is a good example of that. So Naruto knows one half of basically what he's about to do. He just needs to learn the chakra nature half, which is interesting in that ultimately the one-on-one training session that Kakashi and Sasuke had was him teaching Sasuke chakra natures to learn Chidori. So it's kind of fitting that we come back around and it's Kakashi teaching him this as well. Yeah, we move on and we get this idea that the way that Naruto is going to learn really quickly to basically get a new signature move, which would usually take years to master, is that Naruto can only do this. He's the only one who can accomplish this training method, and that is using multi-shadow clones to enhance the speed at which he learns, because they really cleverly done thing here, which they had roughly previously established, that when one of Naruto's clones learns something, Naruto himself, once that clone disappears, gets that memory. So it works the same for learning things. So that if he does the training with multiple clones, it's basically all of those clones, once they go away, their training applies to Naruto, and he's basically quadrupling, as Kakashi says, multiplying by 1,000 if he uses 1,000 clones, the amount of training he's doing. And suddenly, the more clones you use, you're cutting down like a year of training down to, a couple of hours. You're cutting down 20 years of training down to a couple of days, and it's just this amazing thing. And you have like Naruto calling Kakashi like a genius and stuff like that. Other little reveals like Kakashi establishing here that you actually have 4 times as much chakra as I do, but you'd actually have 100 times more than I do if Yamato wasn't suppressing the Nine Tails within you. So it's just this kind of cool setup that right now Naruto's pretty powerful, 4 times the amount of chakra Kakashi has. But if he learned to basically bond with his tailed beast so that he didn't constantly have to like fight Kurama to keep him inside himself, he'd have so much more chakra and would be insanely powerful. Which I just like that, we're not even halfway through the series at this point. That's next volume. And we're already establishing that Naruto has the potential to be like 100 times as much energy within him as Kakashi. But yeah, Yamato shows up as they go into the whole chakra nature style, and they just go through the whole idea that the 5 natures are, of course, fire, earth, water, wind, and... oh my god, why am I forgetting this? Fire, wind, water, lightning, and earth. I forgot lightning there for a second. Sorry, I'm so used to focusing just on Avatar, so I'm just like, the 4 elements, and then here there's 5, so that's that. But yeah, I like the kind of questions that come up here in that we're like, okay, this is how you determine what your nature is. We use the kind of chakra litmus paper. So Kakashi's nature is lightning, Naruto's one is wind. So if he gets a style, it's going to be wind style, which is interesting. But then he says, like, wait, Yamato, you just use wood style. What on earth is that? That's not one of the 5. What's going on here? And we get this great explanation about, there are these Kekkei Genkais that are like eye powers, like Byakugan, Sharingan, and stuff like that. But there are chakra nature Kekkei Genkais, which is basically the combination of 2 chakra natures utilized at the same time. And we get that earth style and water style used together, once you have the ability, is wood style. So that's a really cool reveal about wood style, which we've known about for a while now, but it's just been this mysterious, really powerful technique, but now we know it's it's water and earth together, and only a few people can do it. Even if like Naruto somehow learned water and earth style, he may not necessarily have the ability to combine them together like Yamato does. He only has that himself, Yamato, because he has Hashirama's cells within him. But yeah, we have Naruto basically try to split leaves in half. He then goes to a wind style user for advice, which is how they like really heavily try to incorporate Asuma into things, because he's the main wind style user within the village. We see that his fighting style, which we've roughly seen a little bit of before, involves him enhancing the cutting power of the blade things that he uses, the chakra blades, by using really powerful wind style chakra on them. Which is kind of funny because Naruto in the last episode of the show, or I think it was I think they showed it again. I think at the start of the last episode of Naruto, against the fight in the fight with Kaguya, he used this crazy giant wind style blade to cut off one of her arms, and it's just interesting to see the kind of origin of that here, as kind of Asuma gives him the advice that you kind of have to think about your chakra in a different way depending on what nature you are. For wind style, what you should think about is kind of splitting your chakra into two parts and grinding them against each other like you're sharpening a blade. And he gives them the example of just like, yes, you can charge a blade up with chakra and it will help it be more powerful, but if you enhance it with wind style chakra and really think about the sharpening aspects, you can do so much more. So Naruto throws his blade and it kind of sticks into the tree, pretty impressive. Asuma does it and it goes through the tree, dents really heavily into a giant stone boulder behind him, and then he at the end says, I held back a bit because I could have gone straight through the boulder. So just establishing how much cutting power it has if you really go for it. But yeah, then they kind of go into like that, okay, when Naruto uses like 1,000 clones and learns really quickly, it's great because he has enough power to do that. But when he does the moment of like, okay, poof, all of the clones are gone, he basically collapses because he's suddenly hit with like 1,000 times fatigue as well. So he gains the positive of like learning and all of this stuff, but he also gains the fatigue, and so he instantly is like drained of chakra. So I like that there is a kind of negative to this, but Naruto has so much chakra, it doesn't restrict him a massive amount. And also we have the whole idea that Kakashi, even though he came up with this form of teaching, can't do this himself, in that he can't maintain clones enough to do that himself. He'd be tired after just trying to do this with like 1 or 2 clones, I suppose is what's implied here. But we basically end the training section of the episode with Naruto having finished the power section of his training. He cuts the leaf in half, that's fine. The next thing he has to do is hold up this waterfall that Yamato has just made using earth and water style. He has to cut the water in half using all of his clones, and during the night he manages to do this, and we get the big thing that what's driving him forward to become more powerful is Sasuke. That because Sasuke is such a quick learner, Naruto is now inspired to learn just as quickly now that he's seen how much Sasuke has grown. The other section of the episode is just that the Leaf Village gets reports that there are 2 Akatsuki members in the nation, and basically sends out a bunch of platoons out to deal with them, because they hear that Chiriku, the Guardian Shinobi 12 guy, has been killed, and we get the idea that, okay, Asuma, Shikamaru, and some of the other notable Jonin that we know about, or Chunin that we know about, are going on this mission. So Asuma is going to be one of the main people to confront Hidan and Kakuzu. But there are also some other important moments with Asuma as well. We have him visit the grave of his father, the 3rd Hokage, and just talk about how great of a father he is in the end, and how he apologizes for not realizing it at the time, how important he was to the village, and how he is actually ultimately proud of him, what he did to save the village leading to his death. we get very much established that there's a relationship there between Kurenai and Asuma. They don't hit on it too hard here. I think the anime did a little bit like more establishing it just at this point. But I think it's pretty clear that they are a couple at this point. And then just these little mysteries of like he was going to say something important to Kakashi. He's being very slightly vague with some kind of points he's trying to get across to Shikamaru when they have their shogi game, and he talks about how the most important thing in the game is to protect the king. But if we're referring the game to the actual village, what is the king? You're a knight, I consider myself just a pawn, but who is the king? And Shikamaru just, by default, just says, okay, the king's the leader, so it must be the Hokage. But Asuma says that basically he thought that that was the case for a while, but it's not, and it kind of leaves Shikamaru with the question going forward, who is the king? And that, combined with the kind of Kurenai Asuma setup that they've been going for here, that it's more or less clear that they're a couple. I thought the anime made it a little clearer than it is presented in the manga, but it's clear there's something going on there. And combined with the fact that he goes to visit his father Sarutobi's grave, and they're definitely building towards something with Asuma. Like, I really like the fact that he's coming to the forefront here for at least a little while to get some character development, establish that while we always consider Kakashi like the best Jonin in the village, Asuma's pretty good too, and we really don't know a whole lot about him despite him being the third Hokage's son. So it's really cool that we're getting that development, but that's basically everything I wanted to say here. So overall, really good volume. The kind of more kind of nice, funny side stuff at the beginning is just a really nice way to continue the character going forward. Naruto's training was really well done. A big contrast, as I said, I found the initial Rasengan training stuff a little bit boring when I went over that. This was really good. There was solid information, meaningful information, and then good development, plus good characters involved there. Yamato, who said he would help Naruto to become stronger without using the Nine Tails. Kakashi finally getting some one-on-one training time with Naruto. It made all complete sense. So yeah, gonna end the video there by just saying in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the volume, on my review. Links in the description to my social media accounts, Twitter and Tumblr, are also there. And then if you want to help support my channel, so I can make more videos, better videos, links to my Patreon page and my PayPal donation link are also there. So yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.